So what would you say is something someone can do to start branding themselves?
Just talk about what you're doing and then just write about that, make a video about that, and people will engage with you. And if you do that consistently, people probably won't engage with you the first couple posts, first handful of posts, but you keep showing up every day in their feed, they're going to be like, wow, I like this guy. He posts all the time about, and he's helping share his information and sharing his journey, and people will naturally come to you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the MRA Security YouTube channel. My name is Isaac, and today we'll be doing section 7 of the What Makes You Different podcast. A little bit about myself. I'm a 3-year offensive security consultant, focuses on web application security as well as API security. Today we have Kyser Clark on the channel, where we'll be discussing various kinds of topics such as certifications, networking, some failures, and more. Let's bring out Kyser. Hey, Kyser, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. So we did a podcast together a little while back. Can you give a bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kyser Clark. I am currently a penetration tester. I've been a pen tester full-time for a year now, and I've been in the cybersecurity field for 7 years now. Before I was a full-time pen tester, I was active duty Air Force cyber defense operations, and it was a lot of system administration and a little bit of help desk, and that's how I got my start in security. And then when I got out of the military, I wanted to be a pen tester, so that's what I'm doing currently.
So when you got into the Air Force, you just started cybersecurity, or what did you do within the Air Force?
Yeah, so when I joined the Air Force, I got a guaranteed job in client systems technicians, which is basically a system administrator. And I knew I was going to be working on computers, but I didn't really know about the cybersecurity stuff. So I go through basic training, graduate, then I go to my technical school. That's where you learn how to do your job. And when you get there, they're like, hey, at the end of the technical school, there is a certification you have to take. It's called Security Plus. The pass rate's not so good. It's a hard exam to pass. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to fail because literally everything I want is right in front of me. I want to work on computers. And rewind my background a little bit. I didn't join the military until I was 24 years old. So I basically worked from like age 16 to age 24, basically dead end jobs, things I wasn't passionate about. And then I finally get a job working on a computer, something I am passionate about. And I was like, I'm not failing this. So I just put a lot of time into studying for that Security Plus, passing on my first try. And that's what got me into security, because when I went hard into Security Plus, and that's what got me into security, because I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I just kind of like really found it fascinating about like the whole cyber warfare stuff and like cyber criminals and blue teamers and the cat and mouse game that they played. And so I found that really fascinating. And once I got into my first duty station, I started doing my job as an assistant administrator, but it wasn't soon after that I decided to go into cybersecurity for school and then go get more cybersecurity certifications and work on my hacking skills in my free time.
I haven't taken the Sec Plus before, but I have heard good things about it. I know if you do have the Sec Plus, you can go into DoD field, but I don't really love multiple choice exams. I think that multiple choice exams, you kind of just regurgitate the information, you throw it up onto the exam, and you call it a day. For me, when I took my SAN certification, I remembered everything because you also have an index that you can bring in with you. But I remember a single thing from the certification. It kind of goes both ways. You do learn valuable stuff, but if it's not practical, it's a little bit more challenging to remember some of the different material or some of the different things that you should be knowing when breaking into the field. Would you agree?
Yeah, not all the way, because you're right about people will take the exam and then dump the information. But if you're doing that, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. You definitely want to retain that information. Some of the certifications behind me, I didn't even study for because I spent so much time studying for the other certifications. There's a lot of overlap between them. And that's how I know I retain the information, because I can go in and take a new cert with very little study. I really drilled that information in my head. Like, for example, my last certification, the TriAcme SAL1, has a multiple choice exam component to it. I didn't spend a second studying for it and ended up with like a 90-something% on the multiple choice, because it was just like secondhand to me because I spent so much time drilling the information in my brain. So you can definitely get away with like passing a certification and dumping that information. I wouldn't recommend that, because you're going to need that information your whole career.
Totally.
This is the foundation. It's the groundwork for everything, and you just build on top of that. But I do agree, like, yeah, you do want to have some hands-on certifications and hands-on training in labs. And that's, I definitely emphasize that. I spent a lot of time on TriAcme and Hack the Box, and I got some offensive security certifications that are 100% hands-on with no multiple choice questions. I I think multiple choice questions have their place, and I think they're good for the entry level stuff. But once you start getting into intermediate stuff, you definitely want to get away from that and go towards the hands-on stuff.
I agree. You kind of need to know the theory, right, behind of the security methodology. Let's say you're going into penetration testing. That's why I always bring people over to the EJPT for my any security. It's because it's not only multiple choice, you also have to do the practical aspect of it. So each multiple choice question leads you to the next. And it's a fantastic certification that's how I first started, was doing the EJPT. And it's taught me the basics and fundamentals of penetration testing. I really didn't need a whole ton of studying for the OSCP or the ECPPT because the EJPT gave me the foundation that I needed to pass those two exams after the fact. So whether it be a multiple choice exam or just a practical exam, having at least a fundamental understanding of the material can go a long way. Now, you bring something up, which is the SAL 1 certification. That's the brand new certification from TryHackMe. It's a blue team certification, has to do with the SOC. Can you give a bit of background about your thoughts on the certification?
Yeah, so first of all, I think TryHackMe was really cool how they gave it for free to everyone who had a CYSA, plus with the blue team level 1. That's why I ended up going for it. I didn't plan on going for that certification, but since I had to CompTIA CYSA plus, I figured why not? Might as well. And so that's pretty cool that they did that, and it really lets people like me who has both certifications really go on the internet and talk about their experiences, and I can help other people. So with that certification, I have a very long YouTube video about this if you guys want to check it out. But in a nutshell, I would say it's a good certification. Like I said, it has a multiple choice component to it, but it's only 20% of your score. 60% of your score is the hands-on stuff. I never worked as a SOC analyst or a cybersecurity analyst, so I don't really know how real world it is to that. It is in a way because I know enough of what a SOC analyst and what a cybersecurity analyst does to know that, yeah, the alerts coming in and you have to deal with them, and then you have to mark it as false positive, and then you have to mark it as a true positive, and then if it's a true positive, do you escalate it? Do you not escalate it? And then there's like a company background, and there's a lot of things that you have to pay attention to during that exam while you're in the hands-on component of SOC simulations. And one thing that really I wasn't really prepared for was the reporting aspect. I failed my first attempt on that because I didn't spend much time on reporting because I didn't think the reporting mattered that much because, they advertise it as like, oh, you're going to get your exam results instantly. Like, for example, like an offensive security certification or like a TCM security certification, you submit your report and you got to wait some time before they grade it and then they give you results back. Well, I was like, well, if it's instant, like no one's going to be grading it. Well, if there's an AI grading it, and I didn't realize that. So my reports for all my tickets were very short. And then the second time I went in there and I wrote a literal book, like a small blog post, 3 to 7 paragraphs per incident.
Wow.
Per event.
Jeez.
And then I pass on my second try with flying colors. So it's a good certification and don't sleep on it. Even though it's advertised as entry level, beginner friendly, TryHackMe is known for having some easier content. Don't sleep on it. And I have a good friend who currently works as a cybersecurity analyst, and he failed his first try too, which is okay. I know you want to talk about failure. We can get into that if you want, but yeah, that certification was a pretty good one, I would say, for beginners.
Yeah, I know that, whenever I talk to people who are either college students or people trying to break into the field, they kind of just think that they can break into the penetration testing field just right off the bat. All you need is your Sec Plus and you're good to go, which is obviously not the case. You and I have both done various certifications and we still got rejected from job postings and we have our OCP. So it happens. And I think the false precedence of what is really going on is universities are pushing this toward the students instead of telling them, hey, there's a high probability you may not break into cyber as your first job. You may be help desk and you may transition into cybersecurity down the line. Failures come and go. Some people pass all their certifications first try. Some people fail certifications 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times before they finally pass. Do you have a failure story that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a few actually. For certifications, I have currently 17. I think I failed 4 of those. I've experienced like passing certs on the first try and failing. There's only been one cert that I failed more than once, and that's the OSWA, the OffSec Web Assessor. Failed that one 3 times, passed it on my 4th try. That one took a lot of grit and perseverance. That one that's actually my favorite certification because I failed it 3 times. It's so much more rewarding. I passed the OCP on my first try and it was a great time and a great experience. And I was so happy to get that done on my first try. Failing no SWA 3 times and then passing my 4th try, it felt better because it took way more work and because I value hard work. And when things don't come easily, you value them more. So I failed the first try because I kind of expected to fail the first try. I'm not expected, but I figured there was a good chance I'd fail the first try because unlike the OSCP, it doesn't have a lot of to practice on. So there's very limited lab time you get. What you get as much lab time as you need, but there's only, I think, 8 challenges or something. I think they added 1, so there might be 9 now. Compare that to OSCP, there's like 70 something machines. So wasn't as much practice, and a lot of people in the offsite Discord, but yeah, the best practice for the OSWA is the exam itself, and I agree with that. And there's no shame in failing your first try. So I wasn't beat up too much about it. The second time I took the exam, I wasn't beat up about that one either because the day I failed the OSWA the second time, I got a job offer, and I spent more time talking to the company that I currently work for, talking to them, getting the job offer, and then I signed all the documentation to get on board, all the employee handbook stuff and the initial onboarding stuff, background check, all that stuff. So I spent more time doing that than I did the exam. So I was like, when I failed, I was like, I don't really care. We'll get it next time. Keep in mind, I had at the time an OffSec Unlimited subscription, which means I could just take as many OffSec exams as I wanted to within a year period. It's very expensive, and that's a debate for another time if it's worth it or not. I definitely didn't get my money's worth. It would have been better if I would have just bought them the exam attempts individually, but you live and you learn. So my third time, I spent like a half year just getting used to my new job and releasing content. I came out with the podcast. So I took a long break from the studies. And then I finally got to a position where like, yeah, I'm going to go for it a third time. And then I failed again. I'm like, dude, what is it that I'm missing to not get here? And so that prompted me to go for the TCM Security PWPA. That's a practical web pen test associate. And ended up failing that one my first try too, because I slept on that one as well. And then that really hurt my confidence. I'm like, dude, am I even a good pen tester? Like, what am I even doing in this field, dude? But I worked too hard to get to this point, and I'm not just going to quit just because of a couple failures. So I took the OSWA again with zero confidence because like I just failed a quote unquote junior certification with the TCM PWPA because it used to be the PWJP or something like that. It was like junior something. That's why I slept on that.
Penetration tester.
I slept on that because it was a junior certification. I thought it was going to be easy. Right. Never sleep on your certifications, even if it's a junior level, because even these junior levels can be pretty hard. I went in the fourth try. I'm like, I'm not really confident about this, and I'm just going to go back for the third time. I'm trying to think outside the box like the whole time. These advanced techniques that they didn't teach in the course because I thought I was missing something, and it wasn't the case. I just had to go back to the basics and pass the OSWA my fourth try, and it was, man, what a relief. It was basically something that I should have got my first try, but yeah, it was something I missed just because I was overcomplicating it.
You live and you learn. You know, I was telling you before we jumped onto the recording is failure is the key to success. Whenever I fail at something, I strive to make sure that I succeed in it because at the end of the day, when your failures occur, it's your biggest motivator. For the people watching, it's okay if you fail Sec Plus, OSCP, OSWA, whatever certification you're going for. If you fail a class on your university, it's fine. You can always take more courses. You can always get education. You can always learn from other people. There's always a way to do that. I want to just pivot just a little bit into some regrets that you have. I know that cybersecurity, it's a huge field. There's a lot to learn, a lot to do. So what's some regrets that you wish you didn't do when breaking into the field?
That's a really good question. I would say my biggest regret, I don't even know if it's really a regret. I don't really have any regrets. Like if I had to do it all over again, like I would be perfectly happy with the things that I did. But I would say if I had to change one thing, it would be not going after the CCNA, the Cisco Certified Network Associate. That certification I failed that one my first try as well. First one I ever failed, and passing my second try. And that one took a lot of time to get. And I'm glad I have it, but it took a lot of time away from things that actually mattered because that certification, they're teaching you how to configure Cisco routers, Cisco switches, and you don't need to know that as a pen tester. I don't think you need to know that as a SOC analyst or cybersecurity analyst. I would say for a cybersecurity engineer, the CCNA is definitely worth getting, but for pretty much any other position in cybersecurity, little overkill. And I would say the CompTIA Network Plus is just fine. So if I had to redo something, I would not get the CCNA and then start my journey towards the EJPT a little sooner. I could have started that journey a little sooner had it not been for that, but I don't regret it that much. Like I probably hang it on my wall or probably put on my resume. Cause like I said, I spent a lot of time like thinking about what certs I'm going to get. I don't get them all willy nilly. because there's like 400 certifications. You have to be really picky with which ones you get because you can't get them all and you only have a limited amount of time. So I would say I spent a lot of time thinking about everything I've done so far, and I'm pretty happy with what I've done and where I'm at.
Something that I tell people all the time is one of my biggest regrets is the fact that I didn't start out in the SOC and understand what event logs are, understand syslogs, what a SIM is, what a SOC is, how to read them, the query language for Splunk, anything like that. I kind of missed the opportunity to do so. Now, I love penetration testing. I would never want to do anything but penetration testing. But if I had to go back a couple of years, I would totally look into trying to do blue team, defense, maybe even a network engineer, something along those lines, just to understand what the blue team is seeing. Because if you want to be a better red teamer, you kind of need to know the event logs so you can bypass those event logs so the SIM doesn't pick it up or the SOC doesn't pick it up. And then you get flagged by Defender or CrowdStrike or any of these other EDRs that are more advanced when it comes to security, or at least host protection security. So it's funny that you say CCNA because we're going to talk a little bit about networking now. Now, networking has two different meanings. Networking can mean either computer to computer or person to person. Let's talk a little bit about person to person because I think it's something that people undervalue. You and I, we love to network. We love to talk to people. We enjoy doing podcasts, which is exactly what that is. It's communication and it's networking with individuals live or pre-recorded like we're doing right now. So what would you say is something someone can do to start branding themselves?
Yeah. So what I tell people, and this is what I've done, it's definitely worked out for me, is you don't even really need to like engage with people that much. Just talk about what you're doing. What are you studying? What are you learning? What certification did you do? What training did you do? And what have you been learning? And then just write about that, make a video about that, and people will engage with you. And if you do that consistently, people probably won't engage with you the first couple posts, first handful of posts, but you keep showing up every day in their feed, they're going to be like, wow, I like this guy. He posts all the time about, and he's helping share his information and sharing his journey, and people will naturally come to you. And when that happens, it makes the networking a lot easier. You don't really need to you don't need to be extroverted because like I said, if you're making good content and if you're making good posts, then people will come to you. The people that like you will naturally flock to you. And I would say it's helped me out a lot. That's actually how I got my current job. Was I just posted every week. I was doing hack the box seasons and I would post, hey, I got this box done and here's my rank for the week. And I just did that every week for several seasons. And, someone reached out and they were like, hey, are you interested in a job with us? And, yeah, that's how I got my job. So definitely don't underestimate just posting what you're learning on social media, even when you don't think you have an audience. You do. People will see those posts, even if they're not liking them or reacting to them, commenting them. People are seeing them.
Right. Definitely a little bit of false hope when you see the likes and comments section. But what you have to look at is the engagement and the impressions, which I'm speaking mainly for LinkedIn. YouTube is a little bit different with their analytics, but with LinkedIn, it's something called impressions. And you can see them if you have creator mode enabled. And you can see how many people viewed your post. Now, they may not have viewed the full short, let's say, but at least you can see who has scrolled past. And it gives you a good insight into what works and what doesn't. My first post that blew up was a very simple post. It was about 3 sentences long. And I said, I found my first MS17010 exploit on a network. And for whatever reason, it blew up and people loved that. And I started to go down that path. So when I learned about CrackMap Exec, I posted about CrackMap Exec and it exploded. I got a ton of following. I got a ton of people messaging me about my skill set, about how I can help them break into the field. And it was a really good feeling. So I started to go down that path. And then because I'm in application security now, I've been going down the AppSec path. It's something that everyone needs to do. I think it's extremely important. If you want to get a job, unfortunately, it's who you know, not what you know in this industry. Just post like Kyser said. Post your thoughts, even if they may be a little bit controversial. Kyser, you and I literally just spoke about this before, which is one of my biggest posts was me saying something that was a little bit controversial. A lot of people hated what I said. A lot of people loved what I said. And it started to spark a lot of conversation in the comment section. When the algorithm sees that, it says, hey, people are engaging with this post, and it starts to spread it more and more and more. So what do you think people can do in regards to posting? Maybe let's say they're doing something a little bit too beginner. What's something else that they could talk about?
I would say if you're like just now starting out, if it's like beginner level stuff and most people already know, you're not going to reach a huge audience. But at the same time, it's like, even if you study for 1 second, you're still further ahead than a lot of people. So I wouldn't be afraid to post, like, even if you're learning the entry level stuff. Now, I didn't start out posting. Like, I just got my Security Plus. I didn't even I don't even think I posted. I don't even have a LinkedIn at that point in time. I think I was in my Air Force career for like 2 or 3 years before I even made a LinkedIn. But I would say once I got the LinkedIn and I started the YouTube channel, I was going out to certifications, and the only posts I would make would be like, "Hey, I got this certification," and I would thank the instructors, and that goes a long way too. When you know the instructor's name that was the instructor for the course, you tag them in it and you say, "Hey, thanks for the insights." That goes a long way, and then people, like I said, they'll take notice and just write like what you learned and what you got value out of it. And then also, put some tips for success in there too. Like, oh, I didn't expect this to be on the exam, but it was. Don't give away like exam secrets or anything like that. Don't get your cert banned. But if you can help someone avoid a trap that you didn't know it was there because no one else said it, well, that's valuable content. That's the best content. If you run into something that's unexpected, you didn't see it for coming, if you did all this research on it and you fell in this trap, then talk about that. That's go back to the Try Hack Me SAL 1. That's why I made the post that I did and made the video I did. So it's like, I didn't realize that reporting was that strict. So I made a post about them. Hey guys, make sure you put some effort in your reports. And just a little tip like that goes a long way for the people right behind you. When it comes to posting and content creation and networking, the best person you are equipped to serve is a person you used to be. And that's the mentality that I always take with my content and my posts.
That's a great quote. It's a very impactful quote. The blog that I'm currently writing for how to pass the EJPT, I put inside of the tips, make sure that you know pivoting. Because if you don't know pivoting, you're not going to be able to obtain the certification. Small things like that, like you said, just making sure that people know what to expect so that they don't fail, similar to how you and I could fail or would have failed on an exam. It looks like we're slowly creeping up on time. Are there any final thoughts for the audience that you want to share?
Yeah, if you're a beginner or you're just trying to break into the field, there is a lot of competition right now. The job market's not the best, and you really got to put in the work, and there's no shortcut to success. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in those hours of studying. And I would say failure for me would be, I would say some certs I failed because I didn't put enough effort in, right? If you put the effort in, then you don't have to worry about failure. And if you did put the effort in, you do fail, then you're going to learn something. I learn a lot from failure. I actually learn more from failure than I do from passing a certification on my first try. And like I said, you got to put in the work. There's no shortcut to success, and everything in this field is hard. Every certification is hard. There's no easy ones. Even if they're junior level, entry level, they're still hard. And getting in the field, like once you land your first job and you start get going, you can't let your foot off the gas because there's still work to be done. And it's very challenging because you're dealing with new stuff every day. There's new technologies that you're not going to know, and you're going to constantly hit a brick wall every day. I mean, I was on a web app earlier today. I'm like, I couldn't even get the web app to work the way I wanted it to. I'm like, how am I supposed to set this up? And I'm just hitting hitting a wall all the time. And the last week I was testing a Bluetooth device, never done Bluetooth hacking in my life, and this is constantly hitting a wall. So that's what this field is, and you got to get used to it. And there's really no way around it. You just have to enjoy the process and don't really look at the finish line as like the end all be all, because the process is where it's at.
Totally. I mean, it's all about education, continual education. If you're not getting educated in some way, then you're probably doing something wrong, because there's new vulnerabilities coming out each day. I know that there's a bunch of CVEs happening every day. They're publishing thousands upon thousands every single day. So you just have to go and try to figure out where those vulnerabilities are. Especially if you want to do penetration testing, you can go into FOSS applications on GitHub, download them locally, and then start learning how to do web application security. If you want to go down the network path, there's a bunch of different options like Metasploitable, and you can set those up where you can learn pivoting through Metasploitable as well. So just a bunch of different options that you could take for free education if you can't afford anything. Also, free education is Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. You have Over the Wire to learn Linux. So there's plenty of options that you could take, and LinkedIn is free. So you can start connecting with Kyser and I on LinkedIn, and we are more than happy to discuss anything that you have questions about. They'll be down in the description down below, as well as Kyser's YouTube channel. So be sure to check him out and also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Thank you, Kyser, for coming on. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.